Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, my name's Candice. If you've been here before, welcome back. I know it's been a while since I've posted. Life happens. We all have lives outside of social media. And before you know it, time just ticks by and you're like, wait, how long has it been since I've posted something? So, sorry for the lateness of this video, but we got around to it finally, right? Today we're talking about God's provision. And how he didn't just provide in the Bible for the people there, he provides now, like every day for all of us, right, who are trusting in him. In the Bible, you look at it, you look at all these old stories, right? You look at how God provided for Noah and his family when he was going to flood the earth, and he had Noah build an ark, right, and provided the animals and the food to sustain them while they were going through the flood. You look at, when the Israelites came out of Egypt and they're walking through the wilderness for like 40 years, and God gives them food that rains down from the sky every single day to keep them satiated, right? You look at all of these different stories, like King David, right, before he was king. The prior king wanted to kill him. So he's like going around, traveling, trying not to get murdered. And like God provides a way every single time when he would have gotten caught or would have gotten killed. God provided a way out for him and sustained him, right? You look at all these stories and you know that God provides, right? We know as Christians God provides, right? Sometimes I think the harder part of this is translating it into today. Like, we think about it, it's like, oh, God did all these cool things in the Bible, right? But we don't sit there and think about, well, God is the same now as he was then, and he can do cool things for us now too. Like, he will provide if we trust him, right? Now, of course, it might not be food coming down from the sky. I don't know how often he's going to do that, but he does provide for us, right? And he provides it for us in some really cool ways. I'm going to tie this into my no spend year too, because like for those of you who do know, for the last 9 months now, because I started early May, or at the beginning of May in 2024, and now it's like February 2025, so we're like 9 months into a no spend year. And for those of you who don't know what a no spend year is, well, for me personally, the way I went about it was going for a whole year without making any unnecessary purchases. Okay, so, you still spend money on your bills and, any repairs that need to be done and stuff like that, any things that become absolute necessities, right? But I was trying not to spend money on things that are frivolous or things that I don't really need yet, right? So not like making any future purchases that I don't need right now, right? So for instance, I knew last May that I was going to need winter boots, right? Because where I live, winter boots are a necessity, right? But in May, when it's nice and warm outside, they're not a necessity at that point, right? So I waited all the way until like November, when it started getting really cold and started snowing around here, to buy myself some winter boots. So, there was room in there for necessary purchases, but only when they were actually necessary. And for me, that line of necessary is different than from some people, right? For me, it has to be to the point where I can no longer use it or make some sort of use out of it for me to replace it or get something new, right? So my old boots had to literally get to the point where I could no longer wear them for me to get new ones. And when, we do things like this, I personally did this no spend year because finances were tight, right? I knew that if I did a no spend year, it would force me to get creative and just kind of have a new mindset on the things that I already have. It would bring me closer to God. It would help me just be creative and see what's what, and be able to appreciate the things that I have, right? So when I did this, I knew that certain things would have inevitably happened. I knew that anytime you try to do something to get closer to God, anytime you try to do something to please him, right, Satan is going to try and poke at you, right? He's going to go, how about this? How about that? Right? So I knew eventually some sort of something was going to happen like that. And lo and behold, right, in January, once I was like 8 months into this, was feeling pretty good about myself and everything, knew that there was a couple of necessary purchases I was going to need to make, which I had budgeted for, were financially available, right? Then all of a sudden, coming home from work, and the car's got this little light on it saying, hey, something's wrong. So, your brain, of course, tries to immediately be like, we can't afford a big car repair bill right now. Hopefully this is nothing. We need to look it up, right? But instead of freaking out, instead of, thinking worst case scenario, I was like, okay, I'll get home, I'll look at the manual, see what this little light doohickey means, right? Get home, look at it, and you know what it says? It says, this particular, thing that's wrong with your car is something where if you continue to drive it while this light is on, you could completely mess up your engine. Satan tries to poke at you. Right? And at this point, in January, I'm like, I can't afford a big old car repair bill right now. Right? And then on top of that, besides the actual car repair bill itself, right, I knew I was also going to have to get a rental to get myself to work, right? Because the shop for the car couldn't get it in until like the end of the week. And you kind of have to go to work to be able to afford your car repair bill, right? So I had to go get a rental. And they're quoting, a price that I wasn't liking. But, when you gotta, right? And so get the rental, right? Come home, work, and then eventually take the car in, right? They figure out what's wrong with it and all that jazz, figure it out, fix it up, right? Go back in, and here's where God provides, right? Because I knew, something was going to be wrong. We were going to fix it. Hopefully it wasn't going to be expensive. And so instead of freaking out about it, instead of spending that whole week worrying about it, right? Worrying about, okay, now I got to pay a car rental fee, bill on top of maybe a car repair bill, and that's going to blow my savings right now. I was like, nope, you know what, God, I'm trusting you. I'm trusting that you've got this. I pray that this is a really cheap, easy fix, and that it's something that can be done quickly, and that this is not going to break the budget, right? And then I let it go. I stopped worrying about it. I was just like, okay, one day at a time. I'm going to take it from there. God's got this, whatever, right? Which was the best way to go about it. Went back in to pick up the car, right? The bill, ready for this? The bill for this repair would have been like $900. But this light happened to come on 2 months before the warranty expired. So the grand total of that bill for me was a big old zero. I'm like, isn't that fabulous, right? And God knew that, that warranty was going to expire. It wasn't something that was in my brain at the time, and so God had that light go on at the exact time where it would have gone in, got fixed, and I didn't have to pay for it. Isn't that fabulous, right? Now, when it came to the rental car, right? Went over to the rental car place, ended up, because they got it fixed so quickly with the car, I was able to get the rental car back a few days earlier than projected, so saved some money there. And then on top of that, there was a little snafu that had happened with the car. And so in order to, make their customers happy, they also deleted a whole day's worth of, the rental car fee. So I got the rental car for those days for like $150 overall. And $150 for a car rental and a car repair bill is fabulous, right? It's not much at all. And that was all God, guys. Like, that wasn't me. There was nothing I could have done to, make that any different, right? That was all God's provision, right? Satan tries to poke at you, but if you trust God and you trust that he's got this, he provides. And in the weirdest ways, but it works out, right? Because you automatically think that, okay, a car is going kaputskis, that, that is not a good thing, that you're automatically going to be financially in the hole, and that it's going to be a problem, right? But then he gives me a bill where it's nothing. That was awesome, right? The only thing that it cost was, like, the gas that I would have spent anyway on the regular car for the rental car, and then for the rental, and for the gas to go get to the shop and back. God works miracles today. They may not seem like big ones, right, all the time. It's not necessarily raining food down from heaven necessarily, but he does provide for us. Another example, okay? Recently, you guys know I've been on the no spend a year thing now for like 9 months, and I told you guys that my socks were getting holes in them. Like, I was mending socks, I was reinforcing socks, but I knew eventually they were gonna die, right? Because I go through a lot of socks. It just is what it is. They wear out quickly in the very same spot in each sock, okay? But for me, socks just were not translating from that want side of the list to the need side of the list, right? And I know socks aren't exactly like an expensive purchase or anything like that. But for me, I was like, they're not something like I can still make do, right? For now, I can still make do. And God led me to get onto my local Buy Nothing group online, which, if you don't know what those are like literally where a group of people in a local area will get on there and just put things up on there that they're willing to give away for free, that they no longer want in their homes, they no longer need, that they just want to pass on to somebody else and, pass it on to a good home where somebody's going to use it. And everything on there is free. You're expected to give your things for free and you receive things for free. That's how it works, right? And so I happened to get on there and I was scrolling through, and lo and behold, some woman was giving away a whole bag full of brand new socks. And so, I do is what you're supposed to do. You just type, that you're interested underneath, and then whoever is the person giving it away picks who they want to give it to, right, out of whoever's interested. And I ended up getting a whole bag of socks. And not only the whole bag of socks, but then this woman also was like, oh, because, when I said I was interested, I'm like, yeah, all mine are starting to get holes in them, right? She put a bunch of extra pairs of socks in that bag that she had found as well. So I got a whole big old shopping bag full of socks for free, right? Now, that doesn't seem like much. It seems inconsequential, right? But I knew myself that was God providing for me, right? I knew that was him taking that off of my, well, is it going to go to the needs list? Is it going to just stay on the wants list? Like, things that I had to worry about and deal with. God took that off my list of things to deal with, right? Which is a beautiful thing, like God is not just the God of the big stuff, right? He is the God of the small stuff too. Like, he cares about every detail of our lives, right? He will provide, even if it's something as small as a pair of socks, right? He provides. He totally does. I think the biggest hurdle in us receiving it is just trusting him, right? And then trusting that not only that he can do it, but also that he wants to do it and that he will do it, and then receiving it and acknowledging that it was him when it happens, right? Instead of just thinking, oh, well, you just went on your local Buy Nothing group and it just happened to happen, it's coincidence. No, it's not. God knew I was going to need socks. He had that woman, I don't know if she's a believer or not, right? He had that woman post socks exactly at the time when I was going to see it, when I was going to be looking through and find them and be able to go get them, right? Exactly when I would need them, when it's stinking cold outside and my old ones were having some issues, right? So God provides. He always does. He does in some really cool ways, and if you let him, he'll provide for everything you need, right? I mean, seriously, in the Bible, he provides over and over and over again for people, even when their circumstances look like horrible, right? Like King David before he became king, right? It's like running away so he doesn't get murdered, like that doesn't seem like fun. You're wandering around the wilderness, running away, trying to make sure that, the current king's men don't come and, take you out. And yet God provided for him. God made a way for him out every single time that he would have been pursued, right? Like just because our circumstances are the way they are doesn't mean that God's not in them, doesn't mean that God's not providing for us through them, right? But as a quick update on the whole no spend year, honestly, I think it's gone really well. Like we're 9 months in, I've only got 3 months left, and I think it's made me get creative, like God has provided through that Buy Nothing group. Like I've gotten sweaters for the winter, it's like sweat jackets and sweaters for the winter. I've been able to get things through there to provide for other family members, to help them out, with clothing and random things. And God even provided a chair for my desk for free through this local Buy Nothing group. Like God really just uses things and makes it work, when we trust him and do the things that he wants, because I kind of felt him nudging me to go into this no spend year. And when we trust him with these things, then, he rewards us for trusting him. And it's been really good. I would recommend trying one if you have not already done so. Try, even if you just do like a no spend month, just to dip your feet in and get them wet and see what you can do with it. I think it's really cool how it changes our perspectives on what we already have, like how we can make do with the things we already own, and how we can, stretch things that we already have to make them last longer, and then, how we can get creative about, the things that we do need and watch God provide for them, I just think it's really cool. God's awesome. I think that's about the end of this video. Check you guys in the next one. Bye.